been fighting to end the government school monopoly for a long time. And now that schools are taking your tax money and not even opening their doors to students, this could be a breakthrough moment for the school choice movement. Let's talk about that now with Director of School Choice at the Reason Foundation, Corey Deangelis. Corey, look, I don't want to talk about the principle. We all agree school choice, great. You know, I've been fighting for it. What I'm interested in hearing from you is some sense of the options that are there. It's not just charter schools provided by local, enabled by local governments. Innovation and entrepreneurial activity is really giving parents lots of new and different options. Can you tell us about some of them?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Steve. And I just want to point out that families have been getting the short end of the stick when it comes to K-12 education for far too long. And like you said, the lockdown situation and the school reopening debate has really made that clear now more than ever, because families are essentially powerless. And the way to fix that is to fund families directly, just like we do with a whole host of other taxpayer-funded initiatives, whether that comes to Pell Grants at the higher education level, GI Bill at the higher education level, pre-K programs. That deals with education and food stamps. The money goes directly to families, and families can pick different providers of the service. And so we should do the exact same thing when it comes to K-12 education. And if you like, we can even call it something like UBEI, Universal Basic Education Income. Have the funding go to the families, and we should fund students instead of school systems, just like we do with all these other programs. And like you asked, there's a whole host of different options besides charter schools. There are magnet schools, there are virtual charter schools, which you were talking about with Jordan Sekulow before, when the families were being blocked in Oregon. Other states were blocking families from switching to charter schools as well, such as California and Pennsylvania. So we may see lawsuits in other states like that as well. But there are also voucher programs where the funding, again, goes to the family in the form of the voucher, and they can take it to a private school of their choosing, or even something like a micro school, which gets into this conversation about education scholarship accounts or education savings accounts, which is, again, it's kind of like the voucher idea, but the funding goes to the family, and you can use it for these tutoring services, online providers. And there already have been families getting together in large numbers across the United States. Washington Post just wrote about it a couple of days ago, where families are getting together in groups of like 10, 5 to 10 students in one household, and they're essentially outsourcing the process of homeschooling, and this is called micro schools. So I would recommend looking at micro schools or homeschool co-ops in your area to check this out. And just think about it for a second. We spend over $15,000 per child per year in the United States in public schools. Just imagine if that funding went to families directly, and you got 10 students together in a household. That's over $150,000 in total revenues coming in. Just imagine if only a third of that went to overhead costs. The teacher would still have around $100,000 left over. And look, so this option could benefit teachers a lot if they're in high demand, and it can benefit families and students as well to get these options as well. And I will say this would benefit the least advantaged more than anyone else, because there are already very advantaged families going around in the U.S. Forming these groups. It's the least advantaged families who are having trouble finding these options. And so again, we should fund these families directly and allow them to find these options so that everybody can have educational options, not just the most advantaged in society.
Well, look at that. You're so good at this, Corey. You answered all the questions that I was going to put to you. Thank you so much. I think we should make you Education Secretary. That was absolutely fantastic. Love the conversation about micro schools, a sort of twist on homeschooling. People should look that up. It's really, really interesting. Corey, we'll stay in touch as our campaign moves forward. For the moment, thank you very much. I want to bring back Kim and Steve on this. Kim, I just think, I mean, you heard that whole conversation. My call for people getting their money back if they're not getting what they want in terms of the school districts opening schools. All these innovative options, entrepreneurialism, providing new opportunities for parents to deliver the education for their children that they want in different ways. I think it's a really exciting moment potentially.
Oh, I think it's enormous because it's pushing everything to the fore. And let me point out who's really pushing it to the fore. It's the unions. I mean, these are people that are not only refusing to educate our children, but setting up incredibly high hurdles in order to agree to go back to school, and even demanding things like the LA Teachers Union, which this week said it wouldn't go back to school unless it got Medicare for all and another federal bailout and an end to charter schools. Okay, and so, and now you have Governor Gavin Newsom in California saying that even the private schools can't reopen. That's a protection for teachers unions, because he knew that some parents were beginning to look at these options because those schools were going to open. What I would love to see, Steve, in we are going to have another federal coronavirus bill. I would like to see some standards and rules put into it about how the money that has already gone out to states can be used, and make clear that it can't be used by any districts that are not opening and educating kids.
Very good. Steve, your thoughts on how this could actually accelerate something that we've all been advocating for many years, the whole school choice movement?
So you started asking Kim at the start of the show, what could President Trump do unilaterally to get this economy moving? How about this idea, Steve? And I know President Trump watches your show. Mr. President, give every single parent in a district where the schools are not going to open up, where the government has said we're not opening up the schools. I live in one of them. Give every parent a $10,000 federal voucher. We spend $50 billion at the federal level, and let the parents go to schools, other schools. We have in my neighborhood exactly what you guys were just talking about, where 4 or 5 parents are getting together. They're going to teach the kids. Why not let the money go to the parents in these schools so that our kids get a decent education this fall?
I love it. This is so exciting, because the whole voucher thing, that's why I did the My School Money Back thing, because it's frustrating, because although we're all in favor of it, you kind of have to wait for your local government, your local authority to decide to do the vouchers. And this is like the grassroots pressure from below. But you're right. The president can do it from the Oval Office. So let's see that. Very exciting.